I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to present a masterclass. I just want to sort of start on that learners have a background, and where they've come from is very important that we understand that. And today I'm going to talk about a personal story of that background of low literacy learners and where that comes from. Now, in my classes, I have low literacy learners. I have ESL and low literacy learners. I have disability, including mental health, and learners over 70 years. My learners are all of the above, and they all present with a different set of problems for training. Identifying those particular problems is the first step that you need to do to become a good CAL trainer. I'll let you think about another thing. A lot of the people who are this group finds itself amongst the chronic unemployed, intellectual disabilities, mental health, isolated stay-at-home parents, school avoidance and education avoidance, and prisoners and ex-prisoners. So low literacy groups cover a wide range of our society, and often I get those people all in one class. So how do I deal with that? How do I get them and have them achieve their certain goals? I'm going to tell you where they come from, and that's an experience that I've learned myself because I'm a low literacy learner myself. Fractured beginnings, from one that knows my story. Don't bother, you can't learn. These were words that were said to me in year 7, and it sort of stuck with me my whole entire life, because what do I do with someone telling me that? But I'll give you a background of where I come from in terms of my learning. I went to 3 different primary schools, and the second primary school identified that I had a learning disorder or learning difficulty, and put me through a whole scheme of tests and things like that. And this was grade 2 and 3. Then my parents moved house again, and we moved primary school again. So on primary school number 3, I spent 3 years at that primary school, and in that time, no additional care was added to my education, or maybe there wasn't. I don't know. The school just didn't have any sort of special training that I'd come from the previous school. When I get to year 7, the first week in, I'm a year 7 student, and I'm asked to do a spelling test with my other students in the class. There was probably 27 or 30 of us in the class, all girls, because we were at an all-girls school. And I failed. I got 3 right out of 30. And the teacher, to this day, I'm still amazed that she actually felt that it was warranted to get up and ask me in front of everybody in that classroom why I was in her class. Why would I only achieve such a low goal when she has a class that has high achievers in it? What was I doing in there? By the end of the first week of year 7, I was publicly paraded in the classroom, told to unpack my locker, and I was moving into another classroom. That classroom was the special ed classroom. So every year 7 that was at that public school knew that I had a learning disorder, and that it was quite public. So I guess to say that I was a little bit annoyed was an understatement. So the next 12 months to 2 years was me going back and forth, spending most of the time in my education for year 7 in the corridor, because the teachers found it difficult to train me, to teach me, and that there may have been a little bit of, I suppose, behaviour in a sense where, because if you can't do the work, you're still there for the 6 hours a day, so you've got to find something to do so you can do it. And that might be, about having fun or talking or listening or whatever, but the teachers didn't like that. So by the end of year 8 of my second year at that high school, the teachers were starting to send letters home to my parents saying, look, you know, she's got to start approving or we're going to ask you to leave. And the first month of year 9, that's what they did. They asked me to leave my school. So I was still too young to leave school. So my parents put me in a tech school, which was very interesting because I've gone from a high school where I was failing miserably into a tech school, and the tech school decided that I needed to repeat year 8. So I was the oldest kid in the year 8 level, but still struggled with my literacy and still struggled with my numeracy, but did well in hands-on activities, so anything to do with woodwork or anything like that, I did okay. Art was fine, I was doing okay. Once again, there was a few issues come up in the language classes, and I found myself back out the corridor. By the time I was 14 and 9 months, my parents had talked to the second school and said, you know, she's 49 months, can she leave the school? And they said, yes, she can leave. Go and find yourself out in the big world. This made me very happy because I didn't want to be there and they didn't want me to be there. So that meant that I went to 3 primary schools and 2 secondary schools, and it was in a matter of 10 years I'd been to all those areas. And the interesting part about the special education class that was in the first secondary school was that it was made up of ESL, it was made up of kids that they'd kept down, so the older kids, and it was made up of low literacy and people that were probably borderline mental health. And it's funny because now I look back, it was actually my training for my days of a digital literacy teacher now, and it just seems funny that back then at that time when I was 13 and 14 years old, thinking this class, look at all of you, look at you people, you know, you've got this skill, you've got that skill, but the teacher doesn't see any of that. They just see you're not passing English, so therefore you fail everything. Anyway, so I get to leaving school. I don't get a job for probably about 8 months after I left school. So that brought me up to about 15 and a half. And I've got that job. And the only reason I got that job was because back then Social Security said that we're going to give you a traineeship in a factory, and that lasts for 3 to 6 months, and then you'll get the skills and you can go on and work in other factories. So I did that, and my first job was putting labels on dresses, and I got a little gun, and it was funny because when I think about it now, what I was doing was I was getting the little label maker, and I was pushing and making my own labels, and that was my first real introduction to digital literacy. That was a little computer on the label maker, and I could put my own names in, and you know, I used to put boyfriend's name and for Leanne or love and all this sort of stuff. So I used to make these labels up, and that was my first experience into getting into computers. Anyway, so that went on for the next 4 years of in and out of different employment that was probably that low level. Then I had my first child, which is sitting in the audience now, and she travelled on and did great, and we went to play groups and things like that, and all that sort of stuff. Then when I got to about the age of 29, I had my third child, and our daughter at that time was 10, and we decided that her education required that she have a PC, and she was doing really well at school, which was great for my self-esteem in terms of mothering, because I didn't have that. I didn't have the stability of one primary school and doing good at school as well. Can I just have a drink of water? Thanks. So we get we have that third child. In that third child, it was just when the government introduced payments for having children. So my husband decided that, well, with that money, we're going to buy ourselves a computer. So we did. We bought ourselves a computer, and within the week, he blew it up. And that meant that I didn't even get a chance to go on it, and maybe I was going to miss my chance to get into playing on the computer. But no, he decided that no, he's going to go to school, and he went and taught himself. He did a TAFE course, and he learned how to fix computers. So we bought another computer, and in about probably the first 2 years, I used his email address. I was scared of the computer to a degree, but with the help of my daughter, we got sort of into technology. So I had another child by that time, and so I'd had 4 children under 14, and I decided that, well, what about if I just go and do foster care? So I went and did foster care, and we did very well at it. We got an award for being excellent carers. And then after that, I got asked to come and work in a residential unit. Excuse me. And in the residential unit, one of the problems with when you work in resi is that everything is there's reports for everything. And then back in those days, they were handwritten. And in the handwritten reports, you had to they had to be clear and they had to be understood. And because I had low literacy, that wasn't going to happen. So I left that job, and when I left that job, I decided to buy my own computer. And in that computer, I taught myself how to use programs that were complex looking back now, and how I managed to do it, not really sure, but somehow I struggled through and found my way through that. They got to me to the next part of my life, which was starting a little business, and that was fixing photographs and digital editing. So I guess it was complex, but for a beginner, it was just what I wanted to do, and it was the first time in my life that I realised that I wasn't stupid. I could actually do this stuff, and I could do it quite easily. Not really sure, understanding why I could be good with the computers, but not be doing good with digital with low literacy. But anyway, we travelled on and we learned how to do it. Because of the photo work that I was doing, I got to meet a lady who wanted to have a trainer train someone to teach how to use digital cameras. And so 10 years ago, I was introduced to the Learn Local network of training, and I started training adult learners how to use digital cameras and how to get their photos off the camera and put them onto a USB. That was 10 years ago. Since then, I've probably had over 1,000 students. I've had training in all aspects of pre-accredited training in terms of digital literacy. So right from very, very poor learners in terms of their English, right through up to having advanced classes. But my love is, I guess, for my learners is the CAL learners. And one of the things that I do when I'm training is I set up their computer to suit their needs. So the computer needs to have the ease of access set up. I play games, use a lot of 24/7 emailing, and I encourage that so that every learner knows that no matter where they are, whether they're travelling, whether they're at home or they go to the library, if they need to be able to practice an email, they know that I'm out there and that they can send it to me. I make words and meaning tables. And now what's a word and meaning table? I'm going to just pass this around. I'm going to get you guys to take a photo of this, and just so that you can have a look at what a words and meaning photo is. So just, if you've got if you've got your phone, take a photo of it. If you've got yours, take a photo as well. So what the words and meanings table is, it's just a very simple way of adapting the classroom activity no matter what it was. So even if it was hair and beauty, or it was mechanical engineering, or whatever it might be, if you've got low literacy learners, then set up so that they can make a little table and get them to use their phone as their tool. So if you've got a whiteboard, for instance, and you've got notes, and there's people who haven't finished your whiteboard, and you want to continue on to a new whiteboard, get them to take a photo of the whiteboard, and then they can take that back to their computer, and they can continue filling out their forms. Online interactive web pages. So, like Tanya mentioned before, exercise, I use a lot of interactive web pages as well. And I also like to encourage the use of their smartphones and digital devices as tools in the classroom. Okay, for very people who have got large problems with their digital literacy or with their low literacy or literacy, you can get built-in aids. So their telephones or their smartphones can have special apps put on their phones that can do text-to-speech. You can get talking books, you can get word prediction, and in the handout that I just showed you, there's explanations to what those tools are. So there's reading tools, there's writing tools, and there's portable word processors and note takers. They're all available these days, and you can get free versions of them on your smartphone. For low literacy learners, this could be the difference between someone who is able to fill out or complete a resume or even an online form and knowing how to do it confidently, and to not doing it at all. Alright, make a difference as a trainer. If you've got CAL learners that come in who are, maybe they've been through a similar experience as to what I went through in my secondary school, then you've got to expect them that they're not going to have a really great self-esteem, or they're going to have problems with you being the trainer. They're going to be scared of you, and you need to get rid of that anxiety straight away. And so I like planting seeds, I like to engage, I like to have a lot of activities in the classroom. Learner status leads to empowerment. So if I've got a group of learners and one might be mental health and one might be low literacy, I'll actually get that mental health person who has got no literacy issues. They've finished their work, they've completed their task. I get them to then empower them to help me with the low literacy learners or the CAL learners in terms of ESL. They help me I give them the hand to make them the leader of the group, because they've finished first. It might be the first time in their whole life that someone has actually given them encouragement and made them feel special. Value your learners, but don't expect miracles, because sometimes it takes years to get them to be able to get through the learn-to-learn process. Create tasks that cover many activities. So I have activities that will use a program such as Microsoft Word. They'll have to use their internet to get information. They will then have to use an email to send that information to me. And now that happens every single class. Allow learners to use their smartphones and digital devices as tools. Okay, so this is a resource that will be up on the webinar, and you can access it. And it's just a whole heap of web pages that give you assistive so it gives you assistive links to programs and apps that, and hardware too. So if you've got a learner that really needs some note takers or stuff like that, you can actually go to these places. Another one I want you to be aware of, I don't know if any of you are using it, but it's Grammarly. Has anyone heard of Grammarly? It's a great little app. It doesn't cost any money, and it just helps you, it just sits in the little side for your emails or your Word documents or whatever you're doing, and it gives you the option to say, this could be done differently, this could be done better, or it gives you the correct words that you might be looking for. My website's up there as well, so you can go and have a look at my websites and any of the training that I might have and PDFs that I use in my classroom. We've also got Intel for CAL, which is an 8-fee
and that has strategies that work, and that is definitely aimed at CAL learners from all the different levels, that little strategies that help you be a better trainer. Just knowing the struggles that come before the skills. So understanding that CAL learners do come with baggage opens the doors to create opportunity to make a difference, and you could be that trainer that makes that difference. Thanks for listening.